The rancid smell of decaying human flesh shrouded Bridgette like a mist as she opened the door of the unmarked police car. Suppressing the urge to vomit, she stared out through the windshield at the police tape that surrounded the shallow grave 50 feet in front of her. Bridgette recalled the words of several seasoned detectives from her final year lectures as she sat and tried to compose herself. Their confessions that they often needed to shower 3 and 4 times after attending a murder scene before they felt clean again was something she'd never understood. But now, as the overwhelming stench of death began to settle on her, she understood why. As she felt bile rise in her throat, she knew nothing she had learned during her 4-year degree would prepare her for this part of the job. In only her 2nd week on the force as a rookie detective, the real learning was about to begin. A short laugh interrupted her thoughts. She turned and looked across at Lance Hoffman, who was already out of the car. At 61 years of age and 3 months short of retirement, the tall, slightly overweight and balding detective had an official reputation on the force as a competent investigator who held the record at Vancouver PD for the most murder cases solved. With an amused look, her partner of less than 2 weeks leaned down and said, "You know, it's much easier to do the police work when you actually get out of the car, Detective." Hoffman's reputation had been tempered by Bridgette's new boss, Chief Inspector Felix Del Rey, who had given her a slightly franker assessment of her partner when making the assignment. "I'm putting you with Hoffman for your first 3 months. He's old, doesn't like change or women much, but he's one hell of an investigator, and he'll teach you a lot." As a throwaway line at the end of their conversation, Del Rey had confided that if she could stick it out with Hoffman, she could probably work with anyone on the force. Bridgette had taken this as a challenge, and as she sat staring back at her partner, who clearly found her misery amusing, she silently admonished herself to hold it together. Bridgette ignored the condescending jibe and pulled a small tube of Vicks Vapor Rub from her leather satchel. Determined not to appear weak or overwhelmed, she took her time spreading a liberal smear of the lotion just above her top lip. Hoffman watched with amusement for several seconds before asking, "They teach you that in, police school?" The whiny tone in Hoffman's voice as he said, "police school," was yet another subtle reference to her criminology degree. On their first day together, Hoffman had made it clear that he thought university courses were hopelessly inadequate in preparing anyone for real police work. To his surprise, Bridgette had readily agreed. Bridgette quickly learned that her training partner was rude, overbearing, and opinionated. She was miserable for the first 3 days of their partnership as she tried to placate the crusty, aging detective. On day 4, she was tired of being polite and found Hoffman seemed to respect her more when she was rude back to him. Ignoring his question, Bridgette finished applying the Vicks and asked, "Do you ever get used to it?" The grin vanished from Hoffman's face as he looked across towards the grave. The medical examiner and 2 other technicians were already in position and ready to start the recovery. In a slightly more reflective voice, Hoffman replied, "You learn to tolerate the smell, but you never get used to the violence." Bridgette said nothing in response as she got out of the car. As they walked in silence through the sparse tree line towards the police tape, the smell intensified. Bridgette was thankful the Vicks was masking the worst of the odor, but as she fought the urge to gag, she knew she would need to remain totally focused to get through what was ahead of her. Hoffman put his hand up to stop her just short of the tape. "You wouldn't be the first recruit to puke on me, but we can't afford to have the crime scene contaminated. So, if you're gonna puke, do it now."